Hey, it's Chris Bowling.
Aspire.
Brad Johnson here.
Happy Bottom Line Thursday, Brad.
Bottom
Thank you,
line
gentlemen.
Thursday. What do we have today, sir?
I got an interesting one. Interesting to me. Hopefully, it's interesting to you and our audience. We'll
Let's
see.
hope. Yes.
Kind of a 50-50 on that. Um, I know you guys have heard about these screening blood tests that
Yeah.
can check for markers of cancer in the
Oh, yeah.
DNA. There was a study that just concluded recently that gave an update to see how effective are they. And so I thought if you guys are up for it, we'll talk a little bit about that. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
something I learned too. So I'll, the study was done actually in England, and it was their National Institutes of Health or their version of, I think it's called NHS, doesn't matter. And they had 142,000 adults that they would screen every year for one of these blood tests. And these new uh, cancer tests actually look for cancer that kicks off DNA into the blood. Smart
Yes.
people figured this out. And apparently, through this, they can detect over 50 different types of cancer. And so, some of the data is just coming out. The final study has not been released. Some were claiming it wasn't a success.
Okay.
They had a goal of really trying to reduce the numbers of like stage 4 cancer
Yeah.
by a significant amount, and it did not meet that goal. But I look at it this way: it's kind of like any emerging technology. Are you better off to have it and still need to refine it, or not to have it at all? And that's
That's well
you
Agreed.
know
said. Yes.
Have it.
that's kind of where I'm at. But here's the interesting thing about it. So it depends on the marketing, what numbers you look at. So in an earlier study that was done, I learned a lot about what false positives are. And I guess I really
Yeah.
never dove into it. I just thought I knew, and I realized I didn't. So in this other test by the same type of firm, 23,000 people were screened. And of those, about 1% tested positive for having cancer,
Okay.
about 216 people, actually. Of those, though, 60% had cancer,
Ooh,
40% did not. And so if you look at the marketing was we had a 0.4% false positive rate because they divided it back by basically the
Yeah.
23,000. Like basically, it's a perfect test. Well, now you really need to roll it back. The 216 people that had a positive result, of those 83 were false. So if you were 83 out of the 216, you're
that's
probably
pretty
freaking
high.
out.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
a pretty.
bad day. That's
And
a
you're
bad
probably
day that becomes a good day.
Can you imagine?
exactly, and you're probably so thankful. And so it's one of those things where
Yeah.
I am glad this exists. It probably found things that other, early
Absolutely.
screenings would not.
Yes.
But if you get a positive result, just be aware there's a pretty high chance you still might not have it. So
Yeah.
it's all kind of big picture. And so
Man,
anyway, stop there. I know you gentlemen
I'm
have
gonna
some
I'm gonna
people you know
go
that have done these.
I want to go down a rabbit hole of the you said it was 81 people that had a false positive? I forget what you said.
Yeah, like 83. Yeah,
Okay.
83.
So how many of those had additional testing that the health insurance carrier had to pay for that really should have never been done? So who should have paid for those tests?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know that, but I would guess that's about 100%. You know,
Yes. I'm going into the doctor at that point in
yeah.
time. No
I
questions
want a
Totally.
asked.
Yeah.
PET scan, a CAT scan, a dog scan, whatever you want to do. I want all of them.
Well, I think, a lot of this technology is coming. I mean, we talk a lot about the at-home colon cancer screening tests. Those are much less invasive than a colonoscopy, but they're not as accurate. But even if you get something suspect, it's probably good to get it checked out, and then you go get your colonoscopy.
Totally.
This is a little bit different because it's not just saying it's suspect, it's saying, boom, you're full cancer. Good luck, like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
and so Byron, you went through a pretty cool testing company. Did they test cancer or was it mainly a blood panel and then what food would work well
yes,
for you?
you could do cancer
Okay.
add-ons where they were doing a blood screen to look for markers as
Okay.
well. Yeah, the main one was just looking at all the different markers of your blood for
Got it.
any and all things, and then cancer was the add-on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you look at that, you look at like there's genetic testing now for antidepressants. I know our doctor's office had flyers on that take the test, figure out which should work for your genetics, so you're not on something that messes with
Yeah.
you more. I mean, I think there's again good things as they refine them. I'm glad somebody's figured it out.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting, and you had mentioned Cologuard, I had seen a separate study on that, and like their version 2.0 of that just keeps getting better. I think that
Yes,
is like a 80 to 90% detection rate. It's
correct.
just really solid. So Ken, here's what I kind of see. If you want me to predict, which I'm rarely
Yes,
right,
please.
but I think these types of tests that screen for the broad brush will obviously get better as the technology gets better.
Yeah.
But then you're going to have these focus tests, like the Cologuard and just other ones that look for just one specific type of cancer,
Yes.
be pretty darn good. So maybe you get the broad test done, and then it can prescribe a set of the smaller, more pinpoint tests, and you probably have a pretty good way to do it. And I'm sure you might still need the MRI at some point, but maybe it can, narrow it
Yep.
down so you might not
I
need
like
it.
your thinking.
Love it.
So, yeah.
Good topic
Anything
as
we
always,
can,
Brad.
yeah, anything we can do to detect cancer in that stage 0 to stage 1 is
Yeah,
money well
that's
spent,
huge.
you know.
Yep. So there you go.
Thanks for
All
sharing.
right. Thanks, guys.
All
All right,
right.
see you
See you
later.
We'll
later.
see you.
Bye.